All right. I'm a minute early and woefully quiet. What happened? Windows do what Windows usually does. Just adjust my microphone settings without telling me. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to get experience on this is it'll just change my volume on me. So let's see if that's any better. Looks like it is moderately better. There we go. If we keep going. Oh, wow. It's exactly where I want it to be. Shocking. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting week of Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. I'm Ventuccini, once again bringing you all of the on-track action from start to finish here. We have another doubleheader sprint week going to Road Atlanta first, and then we go over to Laguna Seca after two 45-minute sprint races with a little bit of practice, warm-up, things of that nature in between the two. Take a quick look while I have a brief moment to talk about points as the session changes over and we lose all audio as it goes from one to the next. Points this season so far looking pretty exciting after 3 races time. Landon Orr is going to be leading off the GT3 AM division with Tom Leeson only 3 points behind, and Zachary Holden only a point behind. So a busy first top 3 positions there. Hayden Mamenga and Colton Tony are also up in the mix as well. Colton Tony having to defend against Timothy Schaefer, who's only a point behind by the looks of it. The rest of this grid looking pretty solid as well. Wesley Woods, Franciera, Jared Petit, as well as Evan Fisher round out the top 10. Richard Costanza, Grayson Parks, as well as Ken Duvall rounding out the 13-car GT3 AM grid that has scored points this season. GT3 Pro sees Dan Griffin leading off the grouping there with the likes of Nathan Sides, a almost not quite... 4 points behind. I almost said 5, and then I realized I said almost 5, and I could have just said 4. Anyway, 4 points behind with Kevin Hayes, another 10 behind those two drivers. Still less than 20 points between the top 3 there as well. Patrick Cantrell and Nicholas Maynard rounding out the top 5. 3 points between those two drivers means for close battle to see who is on the road there. Casey Jones also involved in that battle for those top 5 spots with only a point behind Nicholas Maynard. Sergei Peruk not far behind those two drivers, holding off William O'Naster for 7th and 8th. And then Matt Markley, a few points behind. Michael Doyen, only 3 points behind him to round out the top 10. So close battles all up and down this pro order as well. Joe Evers, Andre Saba, Tyler Roberts, Luke Plaisance, Nick Terrell, Kelvin Collado rounding out the 16 drivers that have points. Jason Larson also scored as being in a race, but not getting any points for it at the moment. With that, takes us over to our OMEC team standings. None of these points are right because why would they be? Nope, wait. They actually are right now. Wow. Okay, sorry. I thought we had once again hit the thing where it just pulls the old data instead of giving me new data. But this is the new data. I'm just not paying attention. 104 is going to be leading off the team championships. Yeah, Nicholas Maynard, Dan Griffin, 452 points between the two of them after 3 races. B&B, Bald and Beard, I think, is racing. Nathan Sides and Landon Orr only about 15 points behind those two drivers. Checkers Wreckers, Hayden, Kevin Hayes, and Colton Tony, 390, only about a handful of points ahead of Prism Pony Pacers this season, the Zachary Holden, Hayden Mamenga outfit, who were one of the podium sitters in last season's team standings. As well, I believe one of them, or both of them, were also podium sitters in the AM category championship as well. Tom Leeson and Wesley Woods on to be in 6th there. Prestige Motorsports, Veterans United, Mystery Inc. and JT Racing rounding out the top 10 with Osborne Setup Shop as well as Real Fast Racing, both hanging out behind. They are in need of a second driver. So that takes us through the points this afternoon. We're going to get into racing. People have already started putting in their first lap times as we get underway here. If we can ride along board with someone who's near the start of their lap. Who's not done a full lap yet. William Master off on the track. All right, nice. Well, lovely. Let's see. Dan Griffin coming around for his first flyer. So let's get a ride on board here. Pull out a track map. Give you a good idea of what you're going to be experiencing here as he gets through just on his first flyer. Leading the podium at the moment. Turns 1. Nice wide sweeping right-hander into this nice 90-degree after a bit of a bend for turn number 3. Turn number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All this lovely bending downhill S's. Rounding out with a nice wide, not quite 90-degree, but feels like a 90-degree on the track. Left-hander to round out that section. Getting into the second sector here, it is a pretty fast one. You get 2 90 degrees, one slightly less, one slightly more. Pair of right-handers, I believe turns 10 and 11 as they come down. And then get into the backstretch, a nice long back straight. It's a pretty short lap here, just over a minute and 19 seconds is what we got for the fast drivers here. Anywhere from a minute 20 and under is going to be quite competitive for these drivers. And then I would say the same, equally true out of those in the AM category. Hard under the binders for the final chicane. I believe it's going to be 12A and 12B or 11A and 11B. I can't quite remember all the time. And then down the sweeping right-hander to round out the lap. This one, a huge, big commitment zone, so it'll be really awkward there if you ever have to go too wide. You can use a little bit of the grass beyond the curbing, but not too much, as he gets an 18.54, 4/10 faster than Kevin Hayes, who currently sits in second in the pro category. Zachary Holden leading off the AM category. I would say was leading off the AM category. Colton Tony going to be dethroning him by about a 10th. And then Richard Costanza, beating both of them out by 200ths after his successful attempts there at qualifying. All right. And now we have just the utmost of patience as we wait for the last few drivers, still looking to get a lap time in. Nicholas Maynard getting the second place, splitting the difference between Dan Griffin and Kevin Hayes, meaning closing down that gap by a 10th and a half as Nick Terrell gets his second lap in and brings it to a halt, no faster than he was prior. Landon Orr getting a faster lap time in just behind him. I wish I had planned that, but that still looked so good. As well as Patrick Cantrell looking to get their second. Patrick Cantrell just getting his second flyer in. Charles Rotes getting his first couple laps in, looking to get a little bit more time in. Kelvin Collado with an off track on his first lap. We'll see if he gets his actual first flyer in the bank. Ken Duvall does improve with a 122.64. Kelvin Collado jumps up with a 120.09. He's going to bring that car to a stop in the process. Casey Jones also out on track here. The 100 Force sister car. Looking to get a time in. All the 100 Force drivers, that team there, getting some pretty fantastic results. But with a 122.42, able to get a time on the board. Only 2 drivers currently not setting a time. Tony Caicedo as well as the likes of Tyler Roberts at the moment. Ken Duvall going to improve his time, though, to a 121.224. So an improvement there for that Mercedes AMG Sim Sports driver. So, with that qualifying working its way around once more, Nicholas Maynard getting his final scoring lap of the afternoon in. So he goes to improve it. 2 purple sectors. I wonder if that off track there counts against him. Orange third sector, orange final sector, slower overall. I wonder if it also doesn't count as only 2 timed laps, but we'll see how far. Nicholas Maynard's going to keep going around the track. Tony Caicedo goes to get his first lap in of the evening. I don't think that was quite an off track, but it darn looked close, and he will run out of time and will not be able to set a time here. And so you'll get a chance to look at our grid here for the first of our 2 sprint races this evening. Here in just a moment's time as we get set to go racing. Nicholas Maynard going to be leading off the GT3 Pro category, alongside his teammate Dan Griffin for the front row of the gate. Only 0.02 of a second separating those 2 drivers from where they were able to improve. Kevin Hayes going to be in third there alongside Nate Sides in fourth, with Joe Evers getting a great run in the fifth alongside Michael Doyen, who's sitting in sixth. Nick Terrell and Andres Alba going to be in row number 4 for 7th and 8th, respectively, with William Lemaster and Patrick Cantrell in 9th and 10th. Kelvin Collado and Sergei Perot going to be 11th and 12th, just outside of our top 10, with Richard Costanza leading off the GT3 AM alongside Colton Tony for P2 in that category, 13th and 14th overall. Tim Schaefer, Zachary Holden rounding out that podium, as well as the first step off of it for the GT3 AM category, with Landon Orr and Tom Leeson are two of our 3, also all 3 of our championship standings as they sit right now in almost not quite inverse order, but pretty darn close for 16th, 17th, and 18th. Of those drivers, Matt Markley will be alongside Ken Duval for 19th and 20th. Casey Jones alongside Charles Rotes for 21st and 22nd. Tyler Roberts and Tony Caicedo round out the 24-car grid for Road Atlanta. And these drivers are going to be getting set to go racing here in just a moment. But first, you got to get through a full warm-up lap, full pace lap. And then we'll get a chance to see where they end up. Busy, big, packed grid. It's going to be, I think, pretty fun to witness all in all. Waiting on just Casey Jones to get gridded up, and gridding seems to be complete. We're going to get our pace lap underway, get these tires a little bit of heat for these drivers before they take to the start-finish. A fantastic run out of a lot of these drivers, seeing how they are able to continue kind of moving these cars in the right direction for the first while. It's been one of those days. I think I've talked a lot today, and my ability to talk keeps going down. So forgive me a little bit. It's not quite the way I expected this race. The commentary might be a little bit left field tonight. That's all I can promise. I was without a commentator that I was really going to try to lean on, because Marcus has real life popping up for him, which happens every now and then. So I've been left to my own devices, meaning I'll probably come in and bother our OMEC party chat at some point or another before too long. Cars working their way through this opening sector, a fun, winding opening sector. That was pretty close. The S's are all one corner. or not a corner. So all my numbers were off when I gave you that walkthrough of the lap, but otherwise we're doing good. So with that, not much time remains for these drivers to get kind of settled in for 45 minutes. Wait, 30 minutes of racing, not 45. So 30 minutes of racing, a quick sprint. That's why it's called a sprint week. A busy one at that. Come down towards the chicane. 10A and 10B was the right one of those. All right, and now Nicholas Maynard is going to hold off most of that field. It's going to get all bunched up here behind him as the pace car dives in. The green light is on, and the green flag waves in the air. Everybody tears down the start-finish stretch. A fantastic launch from most of this field. You can see all 24 of them breaking down the start-finish stretch and working their way through. 3 wide further on the field as Patrick Cantrell and William Master work their way around Sergei Perok, as well as everybody gets onto the binders for turn number 2. Joe Evers currently up there as well. A lot of drivers swapping positions. Kevin Hayes breaking the distance between the two teammates of 100 Force as they work their way through the field. The rest of the field all working together for the most part. Zachary Holden having a brief off, it looks like. See if we can't get a better idea of what happened there, but he looks like that car is still moving roughly the right direction as the cars tear down into turns 6 and 7. Let me pull up this track map once more. We get a feeling of where all these drivers are at. Up at the front, Kevin Hayes as well as Dan Griffin working together for the moment. See where Dan Griffin makes the look into 10A and 10B. There it is. The break there as these two drivers are working through it, but they're neither going to give up the space. Daniel looking for that over-under now. See if he does so successfully. Looks like he's got the inside line. Kevin Hayes is going to have to lift out of it. Kelvin Collado going to be forced to have a bit of a moment here. Kevin Hayes looking for that switch back, unable to find it. Nate Sides able to catch up to these two drivers. Further back in the AM field, Richard Costanza going to find himself way out wide at the outside of turn number 1, out of the lead of the race. Going to jump back into the mix at around P6 in class, just ahead of Kevin Duvall, who's right behind him at this point, just behind Zachary Holden. Tyler Roberts up a good number of positions at this point as well from where he started. Oh, big hold hit of the runoff. Car's gonna weave on him, but he keeps it together. Gonna drop out a few positions as well. Landon Orr currently riding just behind Tim Schaefer. This battle for the lead in GT3 AM. Currently firing back up. You see the leaders in GT3 Pro all working down the start-finish stretch as these drivers come on and work their way through. Sergei Perok getting under fire now from Tim Schaefer into the chicane. While not a battle for technical in-class positions, the position you end the race in does dictate how many points you get. So the more you get in general, the better it is overall. So these two drivers still looking to see if they can improve at some point or another. Taking a quick break here, quick breather. Seeing how the battles are developing. We've looked at those two for a brief moment. Tony Caicedo up 10 positions so far on his return drive. Charles Rotes still working out a couple of the kinks in that machine on his return back to the series. one that we'll see. I think both of those drivers kind of more interspersed throughout the season. Colton Tony holding, fending off the likes of Tom Leeson as they go into the braking zone for the chicane. Tom Leeson leans out early to kind of make the look, but doesn't quite have the overlap to get it done. And we'll have to tuck back in. Colton Tony getting a little bit of a slower run here through this final chicane into the start-finish stretch. And that's going to open up the door for Zachary Holden. These two drivers fighting over championship positions as well. They're going to come into contact. And Zachary Holden is going to be the one, unfortunately, caught out by it. Tom Leeson able to hold on to it for the moment. Fink loses a spot out to Richard Costanza amongst that chaos. Going to see those drivers change hands. Calvin Collado now back into kind of some of the fight he had after he had a moment earlier on. Michael Doyen also trying to fend off Nick Terrell down the back stretch. These two drivers paired off from kind of the top three, more or less on an island, with third and fourth with Nate Sides and Kevin Hayes battling it out. Nick Terrell making the pass into the final chicane. Final chicane, the only chicane. Well, happy birthday, Wesley Woods. Sorry to miss you here, but I hope you're having fun in Colombia. I'm flying solo in the booth tonight, meaning I got to do all the legwork and hopefully bring some entertainment to this here show. Joe Evers working to keep Patrick Cantrell in the rearview mirror, as well as see if he can't find the last couple tenths to William LeMaster, who's also, I think, trying to fend off the rest of this pack of cars. Let's see here. Where is it going? Hey, Sergey? Yeah, let's battle on board with Sergey. That 944 Mustang, McLaren, not a Mustang, where he sits currently in 11th in class, still up a position from where he started. Andre Saba only 4 tenths ahead of him. The rest of this train of cars in the pro category pretty darn close behind him. Okay. Nicholas Maynard setting the fastest lap, and then a moment later, Dan Griffin taking it back by going about a few thousandths faster. So it's been a pretty quick evening for these drivers. Tim Schaefer still keeping up with his battle as well. Landon Orr not far behind either, both those drivers. Currently Andre Saba having to fend off the Sergey Perot. We just rode on board with him. But both of them currently duking it out with each other as Sergey tries to find the opening to get around. Sergey Perot, one of our regulars from the Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge days, now getting to hang out with us in our Tuesday League. So fantastic to see those drivers back. These two kind of incidentally bottling up the battle for the lead in GT3 AM for this race between Landon Orr and Tim Schaefer, as they both keep a pretty close gap. And Tony Caicedo in the background catching up to these drivers, along with Matt Markley, who's not far behind him either. And this whole train of cars, Joe Evers down to Tony Caicedo, more or less at this point, all within about 3 seconds of each other. Closest action on track is this whole train of cars from all these drivers. To see all of them go piling over that inside curbing. And Sergey Perot trying to close the distance. Joe Evers finds himself sliding out. Oh, has a hard contact with the barrier there. He's going to come back in to the pit lane. I want to see what happened here between him. Not really what happened. Sorry, between him and anybody, but just too much rotation. And that car is going to slide backwards and just make a hard impact. Oh, a brutal impact with the barrier there. I'll see him in pit lane. And, of course, today. That doesn't want to do the thing I want it to do. So Landon Orr and this whole train of cars closes the gap down to Sergei Perok, which now has a 2-second gap between himself and Patrick Cantrell just up the road. Nate Sides keeping about a 2nd gap between himself and Nick Terrell as well, further up the field. And further behind, Colton Tony, Richard Costanza now in a duel for position as Tom Leeson also unceremoniously has an off just ahead of these two drivers. He slides, makes a little bit of contact, I think, with Kelvin Collado. Not intentionally. Let's go see him slide out, bump off the barrier. I think he came back on track. Hey, it worked this time. But his car still moving in the right direction, despite that damage. Looks like he lucked out in terms of what actually got stuck on the interface. Sergei Perok having a big off there. Sergei Perok having a big off there. Andre Saba getting to stay ahead for the moment. Tim Schaefer into the braking zone, having a little bit of a squiggle there. I don't know if that was intentional or not. So we'll have to see whether or not that continues. Taking a sip of coffee here, taking a look at this battle, but also looking at the battle between Richard Costanza, Colton Tony. They just swapped hands not too long ago. See if Colton Tony has a response. Zachary Holden with the off track, Colton Tony with the off track as well. It's how you see him end up behind Richard Costanza. Ken Duvall, Tyler Roberts, as well as Kelvin Collado. Battling out for position, Charles Rotes as well as Zachary Holden. The tail end of the GT3 AM fields. Take a look at the top. Nick Terrell closing down the gap between himself and Nate Sides pretty readily. Now down to 4/10. I wonder if there is a thought process there. 1/3 distance complete. 10 minutes of our 30 minutes have elapsed. And the top three, all kind of on races of their own. The closest being, in terms of the pro battling at the moment, this battle here, and then the host of cars in kind of the midfield pack, with Tony Caicedo right behind Landon Orr. As they go into the start-finish line, Tony leaning on the inside there. It's going to open up a gap there between himself and Tim Schaefer. He's going to have to hold on to it, as well as not let Matt Markley to also get by is the goal. Let's see here. Oh no. Tony Caicedo having a spin out there. Keeps it ahead of Casey Jones. Let's see what happened here. Was it just too much rotation? I'm guessing it was too much rotation. Gets unsettled there. Goes to rotate. It just keeps going. Yep. Pulls it back on track though. None too much the worse for wear. Matt Markley now fighting off Landon Orr. Andre Saba still fighting with Sergei Perok, as well as Tim Schaefer at the front of the field. Ken Duvall going to get around Colton Tony as well. Tyler Roberts and Tony Caicedo battling for position. These two still not sorted out, as Kelvin Collado has to keep up with Kevin Duvall. almost 3 wide here. Tony's going to split the gap. That's going to cost 3 wide in turn 1. Tony does the most with it, keeps it put together. Just going to see Colton Tony also make an off track amongst all this. They finally get all paired down. And Tim Schaefer fighting to get around Sergei Perok as well as Andre Saba. Sergei Perok not going to let him have it easily, at least without a fight. Andre Saba having a brief moment amongst all that. Tim Schaefer talking on the radio. I didn't quite hear what he had to say. William Master, I believe, and Michael Doyen. Sorry, William Master, Patrick Cantrell still in a battle. Andre Saba, Sergei Perok, both off track here. Oh, that's going to be a hard impact for Sergei Perok. I think it's going to be that day well and truly done. Look on the inside. No real room for either of those drivers. Both make contact. Both stay out of the way. That's how you see both of them end up across the track and then back into the wall. Oh, great heads-up driving out of, I believe, Kelvin Collado amongst that. Crunch front end for Sergei Perok. Andre Saba without a rear wing as well. I think he realizes that and is going to bring it over to a stop. Sees this grouping of cars kind of shake up a little bit as Landon Orr, now still fighting with Matt Markley, no longer has the likes of either of those drivers to keep up with Tim Schaefer. Nate Sides, Nick Terrell swapping spots. Nate Sides had a brief off track. That's going to see them two work their way around. Kevin Hayes getting an off track, got unsettled by the flash of lights from Nick Terrell as he tries to keep that car from going around for a spin, only barely. Loses a lot of time in the process. He's going to see himself get dropped down into P5 from where he started in third. And then Nate Sides, Nick Terrell going to pick up the battle where they had left it just a moment ago. Over halfway throughout this race and still just under 15 minutes to go. Going to be 13 minutes here. Several of pockets of battling, almost duels now developing. With just under halfway left remaining, Nate Sides, Nick Terrell battling it out for position. William LeMaster and Patrick Cantrell still choosing to see who's the better driver between those two Mercedes. Matt Markley also trying to get around Landon Orr still for an overall position. Tyler Roberts, Tony Caicedo, as well as Ken Duvall to a lesser extent battling out for position. Kelvin Collado and Sergei Perok also going to be seeing if they can't find a position here or there. Though I think it'll be hard pressed, especially with the damage done to that front engine, or the front of that McLaren. Thankfully, it's not a front engine, I should say. We'll see those two keep working at it. The battle for the lead starting to pick back up as under a second between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard for the moment. Might come back to them here to see if that gap closes down any further over the next few laps. Interesting point of note, both these drivers, William Master, Patrick Cantrell, that we're hanging out with on screen right now, currently driving faster than Michael Doyen, just ahead of him by a few tenths this most recent lap that got logged. I'd love to see. I have to go find the lap time. I can find that pretty easily, can't I? There's a lap time history between those drivers. Michael Doyen only the fastest 2 laps ago. Largely, Cantrell about 2 tenths faster than LeMaster. And both those drivers faster than Michael Doyen this most recent lap. See how that continues, if it continues. Tyler Roberts with a brief off track after getting around some of these drivers, and a late lunge out of Kelvin Collado. Sees these two go too wide through the S's. Tim Schaefer, I believe, under fire from Landon Orr and Matthew Markley. You see, look at the lap times between those drivers over the last 5 laps, largely swinging in the way of Orr's favor. Closing down to just 3 tenths as they get back into turn number 1. And the lap times now almost coming back into the favor a little bit of Nate Sides, at least the most recent lap. Nate Sides going to lose out a lot of time there, having a bad entry to the S's, having to keep up with the momentum, sees him sit out of the air there. Oh, Landon Orr right on the tail of Tim Schaefer as they get into the S's now. Both those drivers really pushing to make the most out of their time. Ferrari still seems to be doing really well behind this Porsche from Landon Orr as they go into the braking zone. Tim Schaefer making the defensive line. Landon Orr going to look to see if he can go around the outside to turn it into the inside, but he can't do so without the door closing on him, and that's going to put him under the fire from Matt Markley going into the final corner here with 6 minutes left to go. I think he's going to have to lift out to let it happen. Got to be a frustrating moment there. Most of the time, whenever you go for those sort of moves and it doesn't pay out, it's really frustrating to have to deal with the consequences. Both William Master and Patrick Cantrell seem to have caught up to Michael Doyen. Matt Markley off with a spin amongst all that. I don't know that I saw any damage there. Whoa, a bit of a great heads-up driving out of those drivers. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss something there. Oh, just loose on the curbing. Goes to try to correct it and catch it. Doesn't do a lot to catch out of the throttle and just slams that front end into the barrier. That's going to see him work his way back around. Michael Doyen, Patrick Cantrell all within half a second of each other. Almost just over a second overall. And the battle between Tim Shaver and Landon Orr back up to over a second as Landon Orr had to avoid Matt Markley, who had an incident. This battle, one of a few on track, also the one in the lead of the race. Still up for grabs at the moment. Matt Markley is going to come in from where he was in 11th. Four minutes left on the clock. 0.5 of a second separate Nicholas Maynard and Dan Griffin as they come around for what will likely be 3 laps remaining, including this one. And the gap seems to hover around about 0.6 of a second. Curious to see if there will be more to it than that. Five tenths still. 3 minutes remain. 2 laps left is going to be my guess. Next time by, we'll probably get the white flag from these drivers. Tim Shaver back under fire from Landon Orr. Patrick Cantrell still battling with William LeMaster just up ahead of these drivers. Richard Costanza as well as Ken Duvall in a 2-car fight. The rest of this grid, pretty spread out. Consistency playing its toll on most of these drivers. Tony Caicedo finding his way into pit lane after this crash. Oh, well, let's see what happened a little bit earlier here. Coming off of turn number 1. I wonder if there's a slide. Looks like there's a heavy slide. I wonder if he catches it, and that sends him back the other way. Look at that air he catches. No way to catch that car at all. And I think that car is going to be taking a stop there. And a brief slowdown penalty for Patrick Cantrell. I think sees William Master stay ahead of him. And Landon Orr still a few tenths slower as they come down towards turn number 6 and 7. About a second now, also separating Nate Sides and Nick Terrell from where he's been able to close down that gap. And a 16-second gap between Nick Terrell and Dan Griffin from where he is catching with our leader of the race. Patrick Cantrell makes a look. I think has almost the softest of bumps going into that chicane. Thought he could find the overlap. Didn't want to push it and force it, however. So playing the patient long game amongst all these drivers. I think we have the white flag out for the two of them up the road as they come into the halfway point of the lap, turn 6 and 7. Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard going to round out a pretty solid run from start to finish with only a few more turns left before going to be taking home the checkered flag for our first sprint race of the evening. Dan Griffin a little under a second still between himself and Nicholas Maynard. Let's see if he keeps up the momentum. Easy enough to do. Checkered flag is going to be flying from Nicholas Maynard. He's going to win at Road Atlanta here this evening, the first of our 2 sprint races. Zachary Holden going to finish a lap down, as well as Charles Rotes be next across the line there with the likes of Nick Terrell holding off Nate Sides here at the end for P3 and P4 respectively. Kevin Hayes going to finish in P5. William Master going to try to fend off and successfully do so the likes of Patrick Cantrell, despite the close battling they had throughout most of that race. Tim Schaefer going to come home the victor in GT3 AM, just ahead of Landon Orr by less than a second. Some good consistency between both those drivers, seeing themselves sit at the top of the podium. And I believe a slow Ken Duvall is going to come home in 4th. Richard Costanza getting a fantastic result for his Veterans United Porsche GT3. Rest of the GT Feed 3 Pro and AM Field going to be making their way home to round out the session. Tom Leeson, I think our last driver of the AM category to come home and take the checkered flag. He's going to finish in 6th. So a bit of a rough night, both him as well as Zachary Holden, from where their championship prospects lie. We'll have to see if they have any better luck when we go out to Laguna Seca here in just a moment. But the GT3 Pro results after 30 minutes of racing. It's going to be 100 forces Nicholas Maynard to take home the win ahead of Dan Griffin, who by just a second. Nick Terrell going to be home in 3rd with Nate Sides in 4th. Kevin Hayes running out that top 5 after a moment earlier. Cost him 3 or so seconds to the group around him. Michael Doyen going to be home in 4th. In 6th. William Master, Patrick Cantrell in 7th and 8th, only by a couple tenths, as those two drivers were battling all night for those positions. Casey Jones, as well as Calvin Collado, going to round out the top 10 with Tyler Roberts, Sergey Perok, Matt Markley, Joe Evers, Andre Saba, and Tony Caicedo rounding out the 16-car Pro Grid. And in the AM category, we're going to see the likes of Tim Schaefer taking home that win just ahead of Landon Orr. Richard Costanza holding off Ken Duvall for 3rd and 4th, respectively. Colton Tony rounding out the top 5 with Tom Leeson, Zachary Holden, and Charles Rotes rounding out the 8-car AM grid. All right. Let's see how everyone is doing. All right. Pulling y'all on the broadcast together.
All right.
How
Let's go.
was that first sprint race for the evening?
It was pretty good. It's going to be my only sprint race for the evening.
Ah, okay.
It's pretty elbows out.
It definitely looked like it.
Definitely drove some laps. There were I definitely drove for half an hour.
Get the feeling then this might be a drop week from the sounds of it.
We'll see how this other one goes.
Certainly smell
Fair.
like it, yeah.
That
But,
was one of the races of all time. Good way to put it.
I really tried to take Tom out with me at the beginning of the race, but he decided he didn't want to go down quite that early.
You're not the only one.
Oh. 5 minutes till the next session opens.
Ben, what was your highlight of the race?
My highlight of the race. If I had to pick one from Road Atlanta, go flip through a couple of laps while we wait for the other one to pop open. Warm up this. It was a great launch. The thing I loved is that everybody survived turn one, which I did not expect to have happen.
I'm surprised first back to so.
Trying to think. Like favorite moment I had. I think watching the battle between Tim Schafer and Landon Orr for a long while was pretty solid. I had a lot of fun with that battle because it just kept kind of ebbing and flowing. Up until the spin out of both of you, Tom Leeson, both you and Zachary battling it out for position, I think it was also pretty cool. Until you guys bumped into each other.
Yeah, I was hoping you could catch up. Actually, I was looking forward to that fight, but I think Zach, you had some wheel damage. Yeah, he's complaining about one of his tires pointing the wrong way.
Tim Schafer messages in the YouTube chat for Tim Schafer, saying Tim Schafer is the GOAT. You can just say that you are the GOAT. You don't have to say Tim Schafer is the GOAT when your username also includes Tim Schafer. To be fair, I could just pull him into this chat and make him.
Yeah, I think you should make him answer for that.
Yeah. Hey Tim, I don't mean to drag you out of league focus, but since we're in between races, I felt like it was at least not the worst thing to do. Are you the one in Twitch chat saying that Tim Schafer is the GOAT? He's gonna pull out. I think he's gonna pull
He commented again.
No, he like being the third person. That's fair. All right. I think he just likes.
All right.
No, he's.
Yeah, I like speaking in the third person.
All right. Fair enough.
More official.
Was it more official?
I don't know. That or more egotistical. Who knows?
It can also be a column A, bit of column A, bit of column B.
Yeah, man, that was Landon immediately hopped in the focus chat. We were both just like kind of laughing. It was just such a super fun battle. Oh my god, literally the whole race. It was a 27-minute battle. Yeah.
I mean, it looked like it. So.
I was exhausted. I'm
Well,
like, god damn it, we got another one.
Yeah, you got to do another one here in just a little while.
Yeah, and it's not like Laguna Seca is not technical in any way, shape, or form.
At least you don't have to do multi-class at Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
If I learn,
well, with Dan Griffin and Nicholas, it might as well be multi-class.
well, it's possible. I mean, they've had some races where some of the
Next
upfront.
season, let's put them in like GT4s.
That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. I really immersed myself in the temperature there because it's like 80 something degrees right now in Chicago, and my parents refuse to have the AC on, so I have like both windows open, a fan going, and I'm
Why do your parents? Is it just not time yet? Is it too early in the season?
It's far too early. I mean, it's only April 14th. It's right now we're going through like a huge kind of heat wave, and then it's typical like Midwest crazy weather where it's like it's like 80 degrees today. Tomorrow it's 60. Friday it's gonna be I don't know, 45. Like it's just yeah. It's all over the place.
Jeez, yeah. So unrelated to anything racing, but while I'm hearing it outside of my window, usually my recycling comes at about like 9 in the morning. I think they got their schedules mixed up because it's almost 9 at night, and that's now where they're now doing my recycling. So
Did they not pick it up last week?
they pick it up on Mondays is how they usually do it.
No.
And usually it's Monday or Tuesday. Sorry, I put it out Monday night. Comes in Tuesday at 9 a.m. Danger Goose is also.
Paint clips here.
Yep. So.
That means I have to do well now.
Mm-hmm. That's how it's
a lot
going
of
to
pressure
come
on
in.
these.
All right. Well, good luck, and hopefully Landon and I have another sweaty battle for the
Don't
next
hold your breath.
30
Don't
minutes.
hold your breath for this one. Laguna Seca is not my track.
Hey, me neither. I thought I was fast at Road Atlanta, but like I was only able to hold on because I was fast on the straight and I could kind of, yeah, I was more strategic than pace, I guess.
I couldn't launch on that on the straight every time you made me on that corner.
In all fairness, I've gotten my only iRacing official lesson with Daniel Morad I've got at Road Atlanta, so I had a few pointers, but
there you
I mean,
go.
yeah.
Counterpoint, I've had multiple lessons at Laguna Seca, and I'm still at that.
Well, today is different.
Oh, it will not be.
Ben, real quick, you need to get a counter set up for how many people lose it in the corkscrew.
Oh, in the corkscrew, I will.
Oh.
It'll be a pretty easy one to set up, so I will. I'll put that together.
The
and-
other thing, I don't have a Laguna Seca setup.
Not either. It's going fixed.
I'm
called
well,
hot horse.
I'm just gonna run my Road Atlanta setup and like probably turn the downforce up a notch or two.
Hell yeah.
I also heard
Wing it.
Sauce is gonna be coming swinging at Spa. So,
You know, I'm just
Have a
I'm
focus.
practicing
See you
that
guys.
spot.
alrighty. Good luck to him.
Peace out.
But
You know, I just obviously everyone is good at spa. Everyone knows spa, so it's not gonna be like I'm gonna show up and somehow finish like 2 seconds faster than everybody. But I'm coming prepared.
Spa's actually what I never race.
Mm.
Because everyone does know it, I don't like racing it.
Nah, I love it. I get in like the flow and like the zen.
Spa is fun.
Spa is fun.
And I know I'm capable of it. Like last season, I was fighting for a podium there, so I'm gonna redeem myself.
Maybe whenever the session opens, I'll be able to do this cool thing called joining.
If I only achieve podiums, I'm gonna change my nickname to Podium Punisher.
All right. Let's change over the broadcast. And
All right, I'll see you guys in the chat. Peace out.
already have a good night. Good seeing you, Charles.
Yes, sir. I'll be back.
I hope so.
Bye.
Hit the buttons. Do the thing. Other thoughts on Laguna Seca before we get into it?
Not a fan. That's my thoughts.
You are a fan?
I am not a fan.
You're not a
by
fan.
any means.
Oh, dude,
No.
If this was
I
Mazda's,
cannot
it'd be
find the
more
flow
excited.
on this track. Yeah, like it's not terrible in smaller cars, but I just can't ever find the flow on this track.
Yeah. I dislike this track, but I dislike this track for purely iRacing spite reasons at the moment. Because this is the track they changed it to for the iRacing IMSA, the not
Right.
Road America 500.
What were they thinking?
Oh, the
Well, I know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
I love cash, thanks.
Greg West said in a forum post, and therefore you have to take it verbatim, that he didn't get any monetary bonus out of this, or nor did iRacing.
Bullshit.
Oh, for 1000%. At least not maybe not directly monetary, but like anyway.
Yeah, bullshit. Yeah, I was very excited to do Road America for that.
We all were.
I did not. I had no desire to do that whatsoever once it switched.
Ugh.
I drove one lap with the Nissan, and I was like, "Yeah, this ain't it, boss," and then never even considered doing it. So
It's that Nissan is super fun on Road America.
So,
where you're flat out and you're going
yeah.
wide. It's
Both
not
of those cars now because of the new tire model have weird snap want to kill you moments.
I haven't tried it with the new tire box.
Oh, it slides way more than it used to, like the Audi does. And it looks like based on like the IMSA Classic I did, it definitely looks like the Nissan, like even if you don't like even if you underdrive it like you're supposed to do anything on the new tire model, it will still just like fail to grip and just spin out and kill you. Yeah.
I'm gonna try a high downforce for this.
that's what I did practicing, and it seems to be the most safe. It's not like
Yeah, I
there's a
think
lot of straights or anything, so.
That's my thought.
I think the other thing that bothers me is they want to go to this. They seems like they're trying to do the real life IMSA Classic. Like there aren't vintage racing at literally every track in America, almost at least once a year, if not more.
Yeah, right.
It's so weird to me that they're like, yeah, we'll do Laguna Seca, and it's like there's so many other good like tracks that you could do multi-class vintage racing on that actually, like if you're gonna go on like newer events,
They're
that's
so fast.
yeah.
Classic track.
Oh yeah. All right, I'm going to take a quick bio and then get ready to dive back into another round. So I will wish you all luck. I may come bother you in the middle of this. So
Yeah, you're always welcome, buddy.
thank you. I will see you all soon.
See you soon.
All right. We're back. Took a quick bio to live and be a little bit human. Now, we check in with the last closing minutes of practice. All 21 drivers out to take to the start of this race here in a moment. We're at Laguna Seca, a little bit more temperate, not as blistering out there. And another 30-minute sprint race in the books. If I remember correctly, time of day. If we look at the weather, is in the afternoon, in the evening for the sim. It won't quite be, it'll be sunset. It'll be evening race, but I don't think it'll quite be nighttime by the end of it. We'll have to see if that remains true. See. Looks to be a pretty busy racetrack. William the Master having a pretty fantastic showing. Be interesting to see where all these drivers shake out in qualifying. We know how see how they are in the likes of practice. Excuse me. Thought we had only a couple minutes left. We have 9 minutes remaining. So I look through a couple more things. I had a brief moment here, excuse me. But, yeah. Gonna get set for another 30 minutes of racing. Coming up here in just a few minutes' time. I know we're still watching a bit of the practice floating around the track here. We'll see qualifying happen in just a moment, which I think should make for some interesting battles all up and down the grid. To see how the gap is starting to close between all these drivers at the front end of Sorry, answering a couple of quick messages that were a little important. Sorry, broke in a quick off track there as they round up the last bit of traffic or of practice and dealing with traffic. Going to be, I think, a very busy 30 minutes time here. We got 10 minutes of qualifying first to get a chance to see what this track looks like from a driver perspective. It is a pretty fun one, but a pretty busy one at the same time. Thankfully, not one we have to deal with multi-class traffic. I know I talked about it in between racing kind of with the rest of the drivers in the kind of the league party chat. That I was not a big fan of the track given its latest I wouldn't say weaponization, but definitely not its latest use as the tool for them iRacing continuing its partnership with IMSA at the expense of some well-loved special events only a month before they were supposed to be live. So choosing someone to hang out with, get a chance to see what the laps look like here. A couple people have a desire to go. Shout out to the Danger Goose Racing team. Tom Leeson, one of its members. So I will get a quick ride along with him. This fun climb up to the corkscrew is, I think, going to make for a very, not quite awkward, but definitely unique multi-class experience here in a little ways. Let's go, Tom. We'll have to see. I'll talk you through a lap here. Tom gets his first flyer put in onto the boards. Dive down into the Andretti hairpin, turn number one, turn number two. Turn number one was that bend we went through initially. The Andretti hairpin, a fun double apex corner. Kind of, you go out once you hit the initial one, then you come back in for the second one. Turn three and turn four, they're super fun technical corners as a result of the lack of camber in a lot of these medium speed corners, the 90-degree ones. We get in turn number five, a nice sweeping but beyond 90 corner, so it's one you have to be a little bit careful of. Then we get into the kink, turn number six. It is a fast one. You have to make sure you do a little bit of braking, just enough to get the car slowed down so you don't go shooting off the far side. And then you go up the Rahal straight and into the corkscrew, as it's known. A quick bend to the right before a huge dip to the left and then back out again, very much emulating a corkscrew of roller coasters in some ways. And through turns 9, 10 in these GT3 machines, pretty much a little bit of brake and then back onto the throttle, and then back into turn number 11, kind of the hairpin, not really a hairpin outside of an open one, but one that'll do all the same. Nate Sides getting a time in, Joe Evers getting a time in, Tony Caicedo getting one, Tom Leeson getting a banker in. I'll see if he can improve his second time out with a 124.1 to start us off. Take a look at who else is coming in. Patrick Cantrell going to punch a time of 123. Tim Shaver going to take over the lead in GT3 AM with that 123.105. We're going to see a bunch more times start to work their way in. Sergey Perok, I think, slimming down the final corner now to get his first lap, his first time in. I'm wondering if it's a actual proper lap time. It does seem to be, but 124.3 means he's got a little bit more room to go before getting that tire up to temperature. Grayson Parks back in pit lane. after a moment there. Or getting through the last couple spots after the corkscrew to get a lap time in. Most of these drivers working through their second laps now of laps to get some time in. Nick Terrell, I think, gonna improve by a little bit. Does jump up to second. Only a tenth slower, a little under a tenth, actually 3/800ths slower. Landon Orr getting a 1:23.105, jumps up ahead of Tim Schaefer by 2/10, 1:22.835, excuse me. Richard Costanza splitting the difference between those two drivers as they work their way through. Grayson Parks going to be trying to see if he can't get a time in as well. Colton Toney, as well as Zachary Holden, have yet to put one in. Nicholas Maynard looking to get a lap time done and put into the boards. The last of the GT3 Pro drivers to try to get one in. See if he's able to improve. I think he had an off track on his first attempt or his out lap. I'm not sure exactly which. But sets a blistering 1:21.601. Good enough for fourth and just a 100th past his teammate, or behind his teammate. Or sorry, 800ths behind his teammate. Not quite a 10th. We'll see if he improves it at all. Landon Orr looking to be on the tear to keep on improving that time and building up that gap between himself and the other drivers, but a orange fourth sector may spell that end being a little bit slower than he had planned into the final corner here. I wonder if that counts as an off track. And I don't think he improves. Oh, he does improve, but only by 200ths of a second. So plenty of opportunity there to still find some more time. Tony Caicedo looking to improve his time as well, amongst others. Nicholas Maynard, as well as Calvin Collado. He improves his time, to a 1:22.865. Nicholas Maynard looking to improve beyond that 1:21.6 that he has in fourth with his second run. 2 purple sectors, 2 green sectors. So I think it's going to be looking pretty solid for the moment if he's able to put it all together here on the final corner. A final purple sector sees him at a 1:21.037, just ahead of Nate Sides by 0.3 of a second. Tony Caicedo, I think, setting a very slow time by comparison. Not intentionally. But no, it does not count as a good lap time. We'll see. Colton Toney, 3 green sectors. He has put in a 1:23 as his first lap. We'll see his second lap be. Looks to be a little bit faster. With a 1:20. Whoa, it does not count, excuse me. Grayson Parks also looking to get that Ferrari with its Proton Mustang livery going the right direction. Orange sectors a couple places, green sectors a couple places. Tony brings his qualifying run to an end. Grayson Parks, no good lap time. Another off track there for him. I think it will spell his run come to an end. And Nicholas Maynard will park that car eventually. Grayson Parks trying to get one last opportunity. That off track on the inside, though, I think will spell the end of that as well. So our last driver on track of our 21 drivers. to get a lap time in ideally. And then here in a moment, we'll see this qualifying come to an end. Everybody's gotten the opportunity to set a lap time. And then we'll get to go racing here for 30 minutes. Get a chance to look at your starting grid once this timer clicks over and we hit the start of the next session. All right. And as it gets set up to go racing, this is how our drivers look for the moment. Nicholas Maynard going to be leading off alongside Nate Sides for row number 1. Nick Terrell alongside Dan Griffin for row number 2. William Lemaster, Tony Caicedo in row number 3. Kevin Hayes and Patrick Cantrell going to be in 7th and 8th there. Andre Saba as well as Michael Doyen rounding out the top 10. Landon Orr and Kelvin Collado going to be in 11th and 12th. Landon Orr getting a pretty solid run in that GT3 AM to lead off that category, with the likes of Richard Costanza right behind him. Two behind him technically, but right behind him physically in P13. Joe Evers alongside him in 14th. Tim Schaefer and Tom Leeson going to be 15th and 16th as well. Casey Jones alongside Colton Tony, with Sergey Perok and Zachary Holden rounding out the top 20. 21st going to be Grayson Parks. The last 2 drivers did not get in a physical lap time. We'll see if they take to the grid here in just a moment. It looks like they have. We're still waiting on a couple more drivers before we get off this pace lap. Looks to be a full pace lap, a busy race coming up in just a moment. 30 minutes of racing action as we get through the second. This driver is starting to peel away and get set to go racing. So I think I have a bit of more of a Tony Caicedo slowing down the field a little bit. And they come around the final couple corners. See this pace car peel in. As it dives off out of the way, Nicholas Maynard now going to hold onto the field until we hit the green flag waves. And we all get to go racing here in just a moment's time to kick off 30 minutes of racing action. And the green light happens there. Red lights light up for us. It is going to be a busy start and a run down to the Andretti hairpin. 3 wide as Tony Caicedo gets a great launch around the outside. He's going to be holding on to that position there. Nate Sides looking to hold on to that lead a little bit. Nick Terrell going to come alongside him to make it a bit of more of an awkward run. He's going to tuck back in as well as Nate Side gets a great launch out of this. Dan Griffin kind of fending off the likes of Tony Caicedo, who will spin it off on his own and end up causing a bit of havoc. Casey Jones, I think, found the front end, as well as Tom Leeson getting caught up trying to avoid that accident. See him tumble back to the end of the field. And we'll see the rest of the field start to end up single file as they work their way through. Landon Orr still holding on to P1 in the AM category, just under a second ahead of Tim Schaefer. As they get into the corkscrew for the first time, Kelvin Collado right behind him as well. Right in front is going to be Andre Saba. Those two GT3 Pro drivers looking to include and incorporate their respective leads. Nicholas Maynard finding himself back down into 4th behind his teammate after a quick off track at, I believe, just after the hairpin, if I'm not mistaken. And so we'll see Nate Sides take over the lead of this race. Nick Terrell right behind him. Nicholas Maynard blinking at his teammate. As Casey Jones dives in, Joe Evers spun out on the final corner as well. As we get through lap number 1, the rest of the field all ending up going the right direction. Landon Orr, Michael Doyen finds himself off, as well as Kelvin Collado. We'll see both those drivers have a bit of a moment. Dan Griffin now going to join those have had a spin further down the order. Opens up that gap. Richard Costanza also having a brief moment, but keeps it mostly together amongst all that. Let's see, Taylor back. We have a few different crashes to take a look at. Colton Tony as well. Rest of the Dan Griffin, Grayson Parks, as well as Colton Tony, Zachary Holden, all having off tracks amongst that. Landon Orr still holding on ahead of Tim Schaefer here at the lead of GT3M. The rest of GT3M kind of spread out. A lot of them had early race incidents. I want to take a look back at what happened to Michael Doyen here. Going into turn number 1, Andre Saba makes a look down the inside, and Michael Doyen applies power. Just gets a bit of a tap from Landon Orr. I wonder if that was just because of the car drifting in net code. And that could knocked around Kelvin Collado. Dan Griffin having the spin right in front of these drivers. Just too much rotation. Almost takes out his teammate. Almost takes out William Master. Both those drivers having great reactions and to keep those cars going the right direction. Amongst that, Richard Costanza, in a very similar fashion we saw to other drivers in similar corners. Just a little too much rotation. Nope, just even less. Just a little bit of a runoff. So, it's going to see where these drivers are at the moment. Up at the front of the field, about a second ahead of Nick Terrell is going to be Nate Sides leading off this race. Nicholas Maynard now 3/10 behind him, looking to make the move back up to the top of the order. Started in first and is going to be working his way through. A whole bunch more drivers having off tracks amongst this. Colton Tony, William Master now chasing down Patrick Cantrell. We saw the inverse of this in our Road Atlanta fight between these two drivers. Now we see the other Mercedes of these two finding his way up to the front of the field. William Master is going to try to lean on the door, really see if he can't push and make a mistake, or make Patrick Cantrell make a mistake. As Tim Schaefer, I believe, gets passed by Sergei Perot. And we're going to see, I think, Dan Griffin work his way through Landon Orr setting the fastest lap of GT3 AM. Same with Nate Sides, a moment ahead. William Master going to finally get around Patrick Cantrell, as Patrick Cantrell has a brief moment in an off track. Let's see here. These two drivers still working together in a sense. And Nicholas Maynard setting the fastest lap this most recent time by, keeping it close to Nick Terrell. 5 minutes in, 25 to go. Andre Saba, Patrick Cantrell, William Master, all four of these drivers in a pretty close battle. Circuit Pro keeping up with Dan Griffin right behind him, waiting to look to see where the mistake gets made. Nicholas Maynard has a great run here out of the final corner. See if he makes the look. He does not. He tucks back in. And he'll be able to get around there right into a kink. Nick Terrell having a brief off track that caused that to happen. Drivers having a moment as well. Black flag for Kelvin Collado. Looks to be for incident limits, I think, already. Which is a bit unfortunate. Colton Tony getting passed by Joe Evers at the tail end of the field. Landon Orr trying to keep up the rest of this field. To keep up the rest of this field. Keep up with the GT3 Pro drivers he finds himself around. Still 2 seconds ahead of the GT3 AM drivers. Dan Griffin going to really lean on the door there. To back into his own fight for positions. William Master, see me, he can't find a little bit more time with catching up to Kevin Hayes is going to be the goal. 3:10's fastest, most best recent time by. Both of the drivers setting their fastest laps. 2 seconds between those drivers and the host of drivers we kind of been keeping an eye on inadvertently while looking at Landon Orr from where he's leading the AM class. Rest of the AM class, a tale of consistency between these drivers. Everybody about 2 or more seconds between each other. So we want to see where these drivers end up at the end of the evening. I think we're going to see Dan Griffin make the look down on the turn number 1. He saw it with Landon Orr last time. We're going to see it with this driver this time. Michael Doyen with a black flag penalty as well. I'm super curious. Hold on. Just out of, I have no better place to find it. Every 10x, that's right. Very easy to rack up 10 incident points in the opening laps of this race. So we're going to see how many more drivers get involved with this style. Gap still about 2.5 seconds or more in the GT3 category. Grayson Parks being under fire from Zachary Holden for 4th place. We certainly could get a map on screen. Thank you for asking. This is where everybody's at. It's pretty spread out over the course of this point in the race. And with Grayson Parks having a spin right as I'm talking about this, that'll secure that P4. Tom Leeson also going to pick up a position there from where he's sitting in 5th in class. And Landon Orr setting the fastest lap in class. Brief moment for Nicholas Maynard going off track as well, as Grayson Park continues to have issues in the tail end of the field. Michael Doyen able to get around him as well. Patrick Cantrell off track, finds himself caught up back between other drivers. The multi-class, I would say traffic or drivers there, giving a little bit of favor in a sense to where Landon Orr is continuing his drive at the front of GT3M. Spicy. A little bit. Spicy THAK, which I think is meant to be thank, turns out to get auto translated to spicy by YouTube comments. Fun fact for all of us to know. Drive-through penalty for, I believe, Grayson Parks as a result of the incident limit being hit after those pair of spins. Andre Saba joining those with a spin. Where we saw Patrick Cantrell earlier. You see him drop a good ways down the order. Zachary Holden also going to get around him. Tom Leeson, I think, going to be able to do the same. The tail end of the lap from where Andre Saba is getting this car put back into the right direction, right in front of where Tom Leeson gets this car back in the right order. 2 pro cars separate our 2 AM class leader as well as our MP2. Nate Sides slowly being hunted down in the lead of GT3 Pro by Nicholas Maynard. Nick Terrell a little ways behind, able to keep up, try to keep a little bit of distance, but he's dropped about a second and a half, almost 2 seconds now at this point. Oh, big off track there for Patrick Cantrell. He's not going to have to serve a slowdown penalty. As a result of that, I'd say rough run through the corkscrew, not the carousel. As these two drivers now within 3/10. Nate Sides setting his personal best of 120.96. Big lockup there and slide, which brings the fight back into a 2-way battle between himself and Nick Maynard. Nick Maynard having to back out of turn number 3 to keep that car going the right direction. Coming into turn 4. Now we'll see these two drivers. See if the time swings back in the favor. See if there's a look going into the chicane. See if there's a look not in turn number 5 here. We'll see if there's one going into the kink. We saw it out of an incident and an error out of Nick Terrell. Not the same can be said for Nate Sides as he makes his way up the Ray Hall straight. And this battle between these two drivers does let Nick Terrell get back into the mix at least a little bit as it stands. Meanwhile, Sergey Perot gonna go off track there, getting around Landon Orr. Landon Orr gonna keep on keeping on there. Has his own battle. Tim Schaefer currently also fighting off the likes of Patrick Cantrell amongst all this. So 2 battles for class lead starting to brew. One already kind of at a boil between Nicholas Maynard and Nate Sides. See if Nate Sides defends. He does not go into this corner. We saw him almost have a slide the most recent time by. See if it happens again. It thankfully doesn't look like he's been able to repeat that for the better as he gets through turn number 2. Turn number 3, smooth as well. 2/10 separate these two drivers. And Nick Maynard is, I think, going to be waiting for the opportunity to drive this car the right direction. Landon Orr with a black flag out of the lead of the race for incident limits, which will bring his fight with Tim Schaefer to an unfortunate end here in the tail end of the field. Tim Shaver seems to be no slouch in picking up his own 1Xs as well, though. So we'll see if that goes both to Landon Orr as well as Tim Shaver, or just to Landon Orr. Kevin Hayes also still battling with William LeMaster. Just up the road, we have the likes of a lapped Grayson Parks, also out on track. Casey Jones also in to serve a black flag penalty there. Patrick Cantrell. I figure out if I missed a 1X there. Doesn't quite look like I missed something crazy important. Dan Griffin now catching up to this battle between William LeMaster and Kevin Hayes to make it a three-way fight. Still about a second and a half between all three of these drivers. So yeah, we've driven on board with a 100 force, but it's still fun to look at. So Landon Orr goes to serve his black flag penalty. Pretty harsh here. Slow pit lane speed makes for a long pit black flag drive-through. Brief moment there. I wonder if it's going to be enough. Lap traffic with Casey Jones getting out of the way of these two drivers as they get into the kink. They're going to go flying up towards the corkscrew once again. 4/10 separate those two drivers. Richard Costanza has a moment amongst this, but we're looking at these two for the time being. Faster lap out of Nate Sides' most recent time by. But is it enough to keep Nicholas Maynard at bay? And the answer looks to be just about, but Nate Sides might have to go on the defensive here. 2/10 and closing for these drivers as they come into the braking zone of the Andretti hairpin. They keep it moving the right direction despite all that. Checking back in, Kelvin Collado with an off track. Put him back place. Andre Sava getting around Landon Orr. In this battle for fourth and basically the steps off the podium. Now a three-way brawl between Dan Griffin, William LeMaster, Kevin Hayes. Another battle that's picked up of drivers that are how all ones that have had incidents this most recent time by as well. Landon Orr, Andre Sabra, Zachary Holden. The three of these, two AM drivers, one pro driver. A slowdown penalty for Zachary Holden may see this change hands. Oh, a brief moment of almost contact. Thankfully kept together. Dan Griffin getting around William LeMaster as we looked away to take a peek at that battle that was happening. After a lean, kind of we saw Dan Griffin a couple laps earlier. Nate Sides keeping up the pressure, really keeping up under the pressure. Nicholas Maynard trying to see how much he can keep applying and piling on to this Corvette in front of him. Over halfway. 20 minutes still to go. He's going to go around the long way. And he's going to drag race the Corvette down to turn number one. He's going to apply a little bit of pressure to try to get him to move on the inside. Nate Sides not giving him any room. Going to brake. Both are going to go deep into the corner and keep the pressure going. Nate Sides is going to hold on to the lead for the time being as he powers on around the outside in the Corvette. Slowdown penalty for Tom Leeson as he tries to catch up to Zachary Holden once again. After Zachary Holden had a bit of a slowdown. And a black flag for Colton Tony once more. See where he now ends up in a fight with Joe Evers for kind of the first positions off the, well, a couple of positions off the amber grid, and they're also not fighting in position for each other. Or in class for positions. Fighting for overall positions and points, obviously. See how these three continue on. Kevin Hayes, Dan Griffin, still within a few tenths of each other. A brief off track for Nate Sides, not quite enough. Kevin Hayes coming up on chat as Dan Griffin keeps on applying pressure. Half a second faster for Nate Sides this time than Nicholas Maynard, but that is quickly changing as once again Nate Sides seems to have an issue in the opening couple corners. These two drivers, as well as Dan Griffin and Kevin Hayes. One of a few close on-track action. Dan Griffin waiting to the last minute to make sure that pass keep up with him coming out of turn number 2. Same goes for Nicholas Maynard. As these two drivers, big off track for Nate Sides, sees Nicholas Maynard trying to make the look, has to tuck back in though, doesn't have the speed as they both go into the braking zone. Coming up the Rahal straight once more, Nicholas Maynard goes for the inside look, has the speed this time, and he's going to be late on the brakes, going to overshoot it, bunch both of them wide. And that's going to end up seeing both of them kind of as they were prior to that. As the two of them almost shoot off the far end of the corkscrew. Nicholas Maynard still trying to see if he can find his way through. Dan Griffin as well. William Master kind of waiting to kind of pick up the pieces, I think, from one of these incidents, should they turn into more than great battling for class position. Tom Leeson still trying to close the gap to Zachary Holden for P4 in GT3 AM. Grayson Parks off to the side there after a brief moment as well. Trying to see if the gap gets closed down any further. But Zachary Holden seems to have some good consistency amongst all these. Tom Leeson labels coming in off track there, but nothing too crazy. Meanwhile, battle for the lead still continuing on. Nicholas Maynard learning from the lessons of the last time he tried to go too wide into the corkscrew. Chooses to stick behind and try to make a great exit out on the start-finish stretch. Nate Sides really utilizing all the track and then some, applying as much of the, making that car as wide as he can. And once again, going to go too wide around this final corner. See if there's finally a good run here, but an off track for Nicholas Maynard. But I think he's finally got the straight line speed to at least match him. But both are going to go too wide into the Andretti hairpin. And both stick with it. Nate Sides getting a fantastic exit. Nicholas Maynard is going to have to tuck back in behind these two drivers. Kevin Hayes, Dan Griffin, I think once again in a similar situation as they cut through the opening Andretti hairpin to continue on the lap. Fantastic set of driving here. Andre Saba now trying to get around Richard Costanza. And these three, Landon Orr coming into the background. So 2 GT3 AM cars, 1 GT3 Pro car, all vying for positions in overall as well as 2 of these drivers fighting for their podium spots on who wants to be on that second step versus the first step. And we'll have to see if that comes to a head sometime soon. 25 minutes have elapsed as I've been talking about these battles on track, as Nate Sides finally has labeled as being listed as pass. Same thing we've seen past few laps. These two drivers unwilling to let go either way. Nate Sides continue to have this and hold the inside line going into turn number 2. And that's going to be enough. Nicholas Maynard looking for the over-under, unable to get that nose in far enough to make it worthwhile. And amongst this, the battle has let Nick Terrell get right into the fight here, as these two drivers have a quick off. And Nick Terrell is able to kind of pick up the pieces here. In a sense, or really not pick up the pieces quite yet, but has now his own hat to throw in the ring, which will make this, I think, an even spicier endeavor. A three-way battle for the first positions off the podium as well, as William Master recloses the gap between himself and Dan Griffin. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. Want to see how these three drivers work their way through the carousel. Great look there. Surprisingly, Nate Sides walks away without a slowdown penalty despite kicking up the gravel on the inside of the carousel. And Dan Griffin trying to make the look on the inside there, no longer willing to settle, but has to back out of it. Now he allows William LeMaster to work his way in. Meanwhile, Andre Saba, let's take a quick moment here. Kevin Hayes, though, driving on the inside, trying to make the look. Dan Griffin has the overspeed. Kevin Hayes, however, putting in the line to keep himself on the inside. That's going to see Dan Griffin make the look into turn number 3, finally trying to get the pass done. And that's going to see the two of them work it out. Kevin Hayes now trying to see if he has a response to Dan Griffin as they come into turn number 5. No look there for the moment. Nate Sides still battling it out with Nicholas Maynard for the lead of this race. Colton Tony, there's a moment there. Bit of an off track out of Dan Griffin. As we get into closing stages here, also want to take a quick look at this three-way battle. Andre Saba in between Landon Orr and Richard Costanza. The three of them all within a few tenths of each other as well. Try to see if Andre Saba has the ability to make the look. Coming up out of the kink, up the Rahal straight. I believe we're going to have 2 more laps at the line, as what I've understood. Andre Saba has the look, doesn't open the door or leave the door open long enough. That's going to see all three of them remain as they were. Kevin Hayes trying to keep up with Dan Griffin, unable to do so. Now under fire from William LeMaster, who's going to do a similar movement around the outside, less successful than what we saw out of Dan Griffin. So he's going to have to find a new opportunity there. Nicholas Maynard still a few tenths behind, coming out of the Rahal straight into the corkscrew. I think he'll have one more good opportunity down the start-finish stretch. Really one of 2 more good opportunities to make a pass and get it done and get it to stick. Nicholas Maynard going to try to find the inside line here as they come across for the white flag. This time by, I believe. I didn't see our lad. And he makes the look up the inside for the lead of the race. And that's going to send Nate Sides way out wide. And he's finally going to have to give up that position for the moment. Busy bit of battling here. But the battle is not over yet for Kevin Hayes as he still defends from William Master. Coming down once more. And a black flag for Nate Sides to add insult to injury. As he drops out of the lead of the race, drops into second as he has another off track. And then that will be enough to put him over the edge. And that will send him further down the order, depending on whether or not he serves it here. But curious to see. I believe this will be the checkered flag. No, sorry, this will be the white flag. One more lap for these drivers. And Nate Sides will come in to serve his black flag penalty. As Nicholas Maynard works his way down for the final time. Landon Orr, Richard Costanza now in a battle. This is going to be for P2 in GT3 AM. These two drivers, both having a brief moment earlier, able to kind of get it put together. See as they get the white flag for this final time if there's going to be a battle there. Big off for Richard Costanza means it's going to be a bit of a drag race between these two drivers and a swap for overall position. See if Richard Costanza has the means to fight back once more. They get into the Andretti hairpin for the final time. Stan Griffin has a brief moment amongst all this. All the drivers above these two, now over a second in between them in terms of battling. We'll see Nicholas Maynard, however, take to the checkered flag second and a half, ahead of Nick Terrell. Comes home in P2. Richard Costanza, Landon Orr still battling it out for this P2 in GT3 AM. 3 seconds ahead of Tim Schaefer. A gap that is steadily closing here in the closing minutes. It's battles after these two that are coming back into the fight. It's going to be, I think, a pretty fast drag race for the two of these drivers as they get into the final couple corners. As Richard Costanza has to make a look, see if he can have a final good run out of this last corner. And the gap will remain at about half a second between these two drivers as Landon Orr, Richard Costanza come on P2 and P3 behind Tim Schaefer in GT3 AM. And then poor Nicholas Maynard, who has been trying to do a burnout down the backstretch, gets caught out by a Landon Orr who was not expecting that car to be that slow. And the smoke being put out from it, which takes us to the last of our finishers. I believe we are going to have some results here. As a result of the end of the race, we're going to have some results. Nicholas Maynard's going home the winner there with Nick Terrell 1.5 seconds behind. Dan Griffin a little ways behind him. Nate Sides going to round out the top four with William Master in fifth, Sergey Perok and Kevin Hayes in sixth. Kevin Hayes in seventh. I believe that's due to a late race penalty, dropping him though down 2 more spots from where I think he physically finished ahead of William Master. Patrick Cantrell, Andre Saba, Joe Evers rounding out the top 10 with Kelvin Collado, Michael Doyen, Casey Jones is going to be top 13. Have come on with the checker flag. Tony Caicedo does not finish the race in pro. In AM, Tim Schaefer going to come home the winner there. 3 seconds ahead, almost 4 seconds, but 3 seconds ahead of Landon Orr. Richard Costanza going to finish not far behind him. Zachary Holden as well as Tom Leeson in fourth and fifth. Colton Jones and Grayson Park round out the 7-car AM field. That'll bring us to the end of the race itself. Let's talk to some winners. I say winners. Let's talk to whoever's in our broadcast booth. Nicholas Maynard, Dan Griffin. Congrats,
Sir.
on the podiums for both of you technically, and the win for you.
Thank you.
How was the drive?
Exhausting. That was nuts, man.
I would say you were battling with Nate Sides for most of that, huh?
Yeah, nah, that was
that was probably the best battle I've had in recent memory. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I kind of bummed to see. I think he had an incident drive-through, I guess, but
Yeah, at the
that was
end.
sad to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was driving the wheels off that car. It was. I haven't had to drive that hard in a while, and it was fun. And I'm just excited that that happened. That was awesome.
Heck yeah. It definitely looked like you were definitely have to push a little bit harder than I think we saw at Road Atlanta or in most of the other races here. So
Definitely. And then just gosh, this Mustang does not do Lamborghini things, and I've still got Lamborghini ingrained, and it's just yeah, no, that was a good learning experience too. But yes, this Mustang's a boat.
mhm. I could
And
imagine.
hey, at least Dan and I did not take each other out despite his best efforts.
I saw
Yeah.
and I was really thrilled that I didn't have to repeat the words I've said before in the shakedown last season of
It's fine. I mean, look. Yeah, not my best moment, but yeah, cold
Fantastic
tires,
recovery.
all that stuff. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
but
How's that recovery drive?
it was good. Yeah, passing here is like really difficult.
Mhm.
And was carrying a little bit of damage, but and, I mean, yeah, Mustang's good, but it doesn't have like tons of top speed. So getting past like who was it, William and Kevin, both Mercedes and Aston, were definitely it was hard to draft off both of them on the straight. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was good. I don't know. It was, this is one of those tracks that doesn't get a whole lot of official love very much, so it's kind of
No.
it was fun to drive it, and it is a good track. It's just super punishing, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's super punishing. It's also, I think, especially if you add any kind of multi-class, it makes it even harder. I
Oh
think for
yeah, and
single-
Seeker is like awful.
yeah, any single class racing like we're doing tonight is great, but I think if you
Yeah,
add
yeah.
you add multi-class, it just becomes really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not bitter from the IMSA Classic last week.
Did you run it?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well, okay, I'm bitter not for the event itself, but for the for officials of iRacing changing the track to Laguna Seca a month before the
yeah,
event
yeah, yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
That's
yep.
most
Instead
of my
Road America.
bitterness. And then
Yeah.
the race itself, it's it's multi-class vintage racing at a track that does not do most multi-class well.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole point of the Road America was the historical precedent, not that they're doing something now with it. Anyway, I won't get too much into it, but
Yeah,
overall, Laguna Seca is not a fun track for me either. So I am when you guys say it was difficult, and the track doesn't get a lot of love, and it's also super technical and hard. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So
It's one of those, like, I remember we were talking about this before the race. Like, I remember driving this in like Gran Turismo forever ago, right? Like on PS1 or whatever, and obviously loving it then. But yeah, it's it's a challenge for sure, especially on a sim like iRacing that believes in that high punishment. Yeah, it's a lot. Missing the
Especially-
Lambo today, right? I mean,
Yeah. Then especially doing this right after Road Atlanta, like both tracks are so intense.
yeah,
neither of them are particularly slouches to drive on. I think no matter what car you have, doesn't change that too much.
yeah.
I saw Nate Sod said in chat that his heart rate monitor went off. Oh, that's
I
awesome.
got a heart rate warning on my watch halfway through. Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
so good. All right, well, let me grab Tim Schaefer in here, and then we'll ask him a couple questions, then we'll round out the session for the evening. So, Tim, congrats on the AM win.
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. A little perfect Tuesday for me, going 2 for 2. But Nick told me I'm gonna have to go to pro, which I don't want, because I'm like, right now I'm in a great spot where I'm having a lot of fun in AM, and I get to battle Landon and Richard from time to time. But then if I go to pro, I'll just get destroyed. I think Patrick still finished like 12 seconds in front of me, so I don't know. Maybe it's track by track, but I got real sloppy once Landon pitted because it was like a big gap between me and then the cars behind and the car in front. So I got like I had nothing to chase or like from. So, but yeah, finished with like 9x. So
Cool.
just about crossed the line without a yeah.
Barely avoiding that drive-through. Next week, we
Yep.
get to go to, I believe, Nord combined. How are we all feeling about
I'm not
that?
winning that.
Looking forward to it.
As long as I can survive, I'll count it as a win.
Are any of you
At
guys
night
doing?
in the rain, right?
No. I kept the night race and the rain race 2 separate races. I'm not doing it all at once for the league. That'll be a separate hosted event afterwards. If you are a masochist and feel like hopping into it in the dark with pouring down rain to survive, didn't they do that in officials a while back for like the either NEC or a IMSA vintage?
The upcoming VLN is in the rain. The next scheduled one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That should be fun. It's pretty good prep. Cause I don't know if they've released a weather schedule for NERB 24.
Not yet.
So, are either of y'all doing the 24? I think can't remember if I actually asked this or thought to ask this.
I've been thinking about it. As much as I love Nürburgring, it's very technical. It's not my best track, and right now in my endurance team that I'm with, we keep our what we call the Deconstructors Championship, which is just damage versus how much time you've raced. And right now I'm sitting at like 14 hours with no damage, and I have a feeling that's going to change if I run the Nürburgring. So I'm reluctant.
Well, if you
Dang.
hit the tire barriers just right on the turn 1, you can shotgun yourself back into the track and across it into the kind of the apex of the corner. I learned that in practice today.
That's a neat party trick.
Excellent.
Yeah, if you hit the tire barriers
in mind.
just right, you'll get shotgunned back into the track. Definitely just like the physics had a glitch. But anyway, Dan, Nicholas,
Yeah.
are you guys doing it with 100 Force, I assume?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Are y'all
Yeah.
planning to
looking
do
forward
it? Plan to do it in GT3s or?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Gonna put this pony out there again.
Very cool.
Hopefully it doesn't get BOP too hard. Sure will.
I'm sure
It
in some
normally
ways,
does,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how much the Audi TCR gets BOP'd because that's I think what we're driving for
Yeah.
our endurance team for
Nice.
this one. Dude,
Oh, that'll
Nice.
be fun.
yeah, that's the goal. We were like, we don't want to do anything too crazy. We just want to have some fun. And I was like,
Yeah.
TCR?
Oh, TCR is perfect for that.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And
Yeah.
it'll be fun, I think, either way. That's like I always forget how much fun I have at Nordschleife until I'm like turning laps and I'm like, this just rips. You could just drive this forever. It'd be fun.
You just get in the zone and disappear, and next thing you know, it's like the end of your stint, and it's like, oh gosh, all right.
I've just been enjoying myself and not having to think. This is exactly everything I wanted.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an experience.
So, all right. Well, yeah,
Cool.
we'll see you all probably back here next week, I would have to imagine.
Absolutely.
Barring any craziness or incidents, knock on proverbial wood. So I will let y'all get back to celebrating your respective victories for tonight and close out this broadcast. So anything else we missed that you guys want to talk about?
Just what an awesome job you're doing on the broadcast.
What the fuck? No, don't do that.
Hey, same here.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. It's like I do enjoy going back and watching it after the race, like winding down, getting ready for bed and stuff. It's like I always toss it right on, and it's fun to see.
I did the exact same thing. Or I'll get my my friends. I'll think I'm some racing god, so I get to brag and boast.
Yeah, there
if
you
I get a
go.
win.
Hell
You know,
yeah.
like, hey, look, I'm not lying.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that'll change if
Yeah.
I get promoted. I'll be like, actually, I lost all my talent.
Well, it's just the talent pool you're in got changed.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
So, but all right. Well, congrats again, y'all. I thank you for the compliments. I have a hard time accepting them as I'm trying to be better about it, but I can't do much more than say thank you and then proceed to say that that's vastly incorrect. But anyway, we'll wrap up this broadcast and we'll see you all next week when we go back out to Nords. Actually, it'll be so much fun. I'm only slightly bitter I'm not racing, but it wouldn't be in a TCR, so it wouldn't be much help to me to race that, not a TCR.
You might podium in a TCR. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, consistency is everything, and especially
right.
in TCR. So,
Yeah.
But all right, we'll kill the broadcast. Good night, everybody.